God's got it. God's got it, right? Hope, trust, and faith in the divine will renew your strength in times of sorrow, in times of need, in times of worry, in times of crisis. When all else fails, Isaiah tells us, know that God's got it. And you might be saying, yes, Reverend Sarah, but the Bible always tells us to trust in God. That's all that book ever seems to say. But I say to you, yeah, interesting perspective. But if we look, our eyes become open to the myriad of sacred texts, poetry, popular songs, and personal stories where the moral always is God's guide. In the Quran, Surah 65, verses 2 and 3, we find, whosoever reverences God, he will create a solution for him, and he will provide for him whence he never expected. Anyone who puts his trust in God, then he suffices him. God's commands will be done. God has decreed for everything its fate. God's got it. In the Tao Te Ching, verse 48, we learn the concept of wu wei, action without action. In the pursuit of learning, every day something is acquired. In the pursuit of the Tao, every day something is dropped. Less and less is done until non-action is achieved. When nothing is done, nothing is left undone. The world is ruled by letting things take their course. It cannot be ruled by interfering. And the Tao seems to tell us that as long as you can put your faith and your trust and your being in the hands of the divine without interference, the world will take its course. Possibilities will be provided for you that you never knew existed. Once again, God's got it. James Dillett Friedman, in his prayer for protection, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. And where God is, all is well. Around us, in every language, in every culture, in every religion, we are seeing the same words repeated over and over again. God's got it. In 2008, I'd come to a major crossroads in my life. My engagement to my boyfriend of 7 years had broken up. He moved out of the apartment, leaving me with no furniture, barely enough money to make the bills and the rent, and still have some food in my fridge and money for a Metro card. I mean, there were some months when the choice between toilet paper and a Metro card became a struggle. I was working as an actress at a theme restaurant here in the city. And I'd been able to get on contracts, got my union card, made a bunch of friends, really enjoyed what I was doing. And the money was coming in. I had the flexibility to go on auditions, get other acting jobs. On the surface, this was everything an actress in New York City could hope for. However, under that shiny veneer was an intricate web of negativity, ugliness, and shady dealings. There were more health code violations in the restaurant than I care to talk about. I received bounced paychecks, counterfeit bills in lieu of those paychecks. The structural integrity of the restaurant was taken into question so many times, and all signs pointed to the exit, saying, "This way out, go." While I was able to see the signs and hear the words, I had nothing to fall back on. I had no other employment, no way to make the bills. I was locked into this job, or so I thought. One afternoon, I was working at the front door. It's my fourth shift in a row, 2 doubles, 12 hours each. I was exhausted, physically, mentally, and emotionally, and the job had begun to take a toll on my singing voice. I was always battling some cold, but I had simply accepted this was my lot in life. My time would come, but that time wasn't now, and I just had to grin and bear it. My sign came that January day in the form of a large rat running through the kitchen of the restaurant. Seemingly innocuous sign, considering everything else that had happened, but at that moment, seeing that rat, I made the decision to jump. There was no safety net, or so I thought. I wasn't sure if I'd find another job. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to eat. The only thing I was sure of was I couldn't work here anymore. I said under my breath at the door, "God will provide." I handed in my 2 weeks' notice. And I immediately began a search on Craigslist for another job. Scouring the listings, I started to get despondent and started to worry that the MetroCard toilet paper debate was going to come out. But I applied to a small listing that asked for an administrative assistant. I sent my listing off and followed the instructions, not thinking anything of it, because I'd already sent out about 30 more that day. But to make a long story short, I worked at the new seminary for 3 years. It was the answer to prayers I didn't even know I was saying. By saying God's got it and truly believing in the support the divine would provide, a plethora of doors and possibilities opened. I had money to pay the bills, I had wonderful people to work for, and a wonderful environment to work in. All the things I had yearned for just a few weeks earlier. I was provided for, finally. Financially, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Or else I wouldn't be the interfaith minister you see here. All from saying a version of those 3 words, God's got it. How many times in your life have you heard of someone taking the plunge, taking a leap of faith, letting go and letting God? Carrie Underwood sings, Jesus, take the wheel. Take it from my hands because I can't do this on my own. I'm letting go. Bon Jovi tells us to have a little faith. Robert Pella tells us to have a little faith. Why don't we? If God's got it is being told to us over and over again in a million different ways, in a million different languages, why don't we all just say God's got it? And go on with our lives safe in the knowing that ultimately we're provided for. 5 little letters. D-O-U-B-T. Doubt. Doubt holds us back from everything when we give it enough power. I don't know if I can afford to go back to school. No, I don't think that's such a good idea. I can't do that. But the Buddha tells us, indeed, there is nothing more dreadful than doubt. Doubt separates people. It is a poison that disintegrates friendships and breaks up pleasant relations. It is a thorn that irritates and hurts. It is a sword that kills. How many times in your life have you thought about doing something knowing full well it was in your best interest, only to have doubt creep in and sabotage that desire? Doubt's easy. God hasn't provided any answers to my prayers. Why should I believe He's going to provide for me? I prayed and nothing happened. What is God waiting for? God isn't really going to help me. I have to help myself. Doubt creeps in when prayers seemingly go unanswered, when we don't get what we want. When prayers come with man-made conditions or even man-made doubts, God's still God. God will give us the lessons over and over again until we've learned them. It's only when the offerings, prayers, and sacrifices are made without condition, without doubt, that the doors will be open. Gloria Karpinski, in her book Barefoot on Holy Ground, writes, when the letting go is a loving choice from deep within self, it becomes a loving offering to God. To sacrifice means to make holy. All of our experience, no matter how bizarre or distorted, can be made holy. The divine absorbs all of our offerings. Every hurt, mistake, hatred, regret, and self-loathing. Every sadness over the roads not taken, as well as the ones that were. And they are transformed as they are offered.